Up Buncombe? It's Abby, and today I'm here with Caitlin Marsh, who is from Johnston County. She formerly ran for Senate out of District 10 in this past primary, and now she's on this better, more beautiful things. How are you doing, Caitlin?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for
I'm
having
good.
me.
Raise a flag of liberty, the land of the free, rejecting tyranny.
Thanks. So it's great to have um don't it's great to have thoughts instead of trailing off. Um,
It's okay. It's okay. You should have seen some of my speeches. The train left the station, but it never went back. It completely
yeah,
crashed and obliterated and blew up. So it's okay.
yeah.
We all have our moments.
It's great to have a fellow young Republican on here. So tell me, what have you been up to since the Senate race?
Well, um, as you know, well, in case you don't know, I have this thing about me where I love to take on so much at one time and see just how much I can carry, just how much I can bend until I break. So about a week after losing my Senate race, I launched a political consulting firm. I have an LLC and everything. So, and it is one of the most passionate things that I've ever done. And one of my biggest setbacks or things that I noticed whenever I was running for election was the sheer lack of affordable options when it came to consulting or anything. It was just the sheer cost. It's not necessarily that we don't have enough good candidates. We don't have enough candidates that have the funds to pay for running for any election. So I want to give candidates the availability to have the same level of consulting, the same level of marketing, the same strategy for a nominal fee so that they can actually run. I want to get young candidates into office. I want to get good candidates based off of their merit, not off of their wallet.
So, so obviously it seems like you've taken a lot from the race that you ran, to start a business. So what are the things that you learned? Because you were the youngest person to ever run for this office. So what are the things that you think you've taken away from that have helped you grow as a person?
Yeah, so running for a state Senate seat was one of the most eye-opening experiences I have ever had in my entire life. Going into this, so 8 months ago, I was not involved in politics. Had no true clue what actually happened behind the scenes. Man, was I in for a rude awakening. It was a complete wake-up call. Um, I learned a lot. One of the biggest things I learned was what true passion within your community is, and how there really is a sheer lack of outreach, and politicians are put on this pedestal for this political pedigree that is just non-existent. They're idolized in every which way, when in all actuality they're just regular people. But it seems like an unattainable goal for the common person. You know, and most people do not know this, but there are only a few requirements to even run for a state Senate seat. You have to be 25, which I checked that box. And I, like you said, I am the youngest woman in North Carolina state history to ever run for a district Senate seat at 25. Single mom of three, full time in college, the whole spiel, all self researched, all self started. But that's only one of the requirements. The next one is you have to be in the state for 2 years. And then I believe in your district for a year and affiliated with your political party as January 31st before that primary. So, or for filing for that primary. So there's not any real merit-based requirements. You don't need a college degree. You don't need to have X amount of dollars. You don't need to be funneled in. There's there's only a couple things you need. And I think that goes back to the when you look at the Constitution of North Carolina, when we were founded, when our General Assembly was put together and everything was kind of streamlined through, the goal was to have someone who represented the constituents by being a part of the constituents, who understood the needs of their community. And I think there's a vast disconnect between politicians now and the constituents. Majority of it are special interest funding. Like as in my race at least, one of the biggest things I did see was how much money special interest puts into candidates, even in small
Mhm.
district races, when the funding shouldn't have necessarily, was it really needed? I mean, I'm 25. I'm a no-name candidate. Why would so much money go to my opponent for a race that's just it's supposed to be won by 99%? I mean, I did push the mark back by 14 points, only losing by 84.9%. Although, I don't know. It's just a question that I ponder sometimes. Why is special interest funding so many of these local politicians? I mean, I've looked at it and I think some county commissioners even get special interest funding, which is abnormal to me. It's astounding, truly.
Yeah, here in Buncombe County, we have a couple of those ourselves getting casino money. So,
Yeah.
I agree. That's quite interesting why, these giant, even Fortune 500 companies would take an interest in a small town candidate. I think that's absolutely a valid point to raise. Um, so
It doesn't make
let's
sense. Yeah. Yeah.
no,
Makes
it
sense.
doesn't make sense at all.
No
It's
sense.
And I don't understand why at this point, 2026, we still have outside of state money coming into state candidates. Like if you're
Right.
running in North Carolina, I believe your money should come from North Carolina. If you're running in San Francisco, your money should come from California, not from three states over. I
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have a lot of politicians that are getting big money that should not be getting the money that they're
Yeah.
getting.
And then
And
if
this
you
goes for
look,
both sides of the aisle, Republican or Democrat.
100%. Yeah. If you look and you see, like, even where the money goes, right? Why is it that certain funds, like PACs and things like that, of North Carolina that are for North Carolina politicians, and so many from across the aisle put so much funding inside them? And then you look and you see they're going to businesses from out of state, like in Illinois, like, I don't know, a traffic light camera company, or I believe it was 150,000, one of them. All of it was streamlined to it. Why is this funding going there? What is the reasoning behind it? You know, there's a lot of questions when you follow the money that you really should be asking. And I think that it's time for, I don't know, people in North Carolina to really look and see what's happening. I mean, you look across the country, we've seen so many cases of fraud and defrauding the public and using taxpayer dollars. What's happening in North Carolina? Maybe we should be investigating that.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to go and take a little bit of time and look at campaign finance spending reports at least, once or twice every so often. Because I even just spending an hour doing that a little while ago, I learned a lot. I learned
Mhm.
a lot, and I encourage everybody to do that at least once, just to go and look some people up and look at campaign finance reports. It's very eye-opening about what exactly motivates people to do certain things. Um,
Money, 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 money.
The Bible really does mean it when it says money's the root of all evil.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I said, now I'm not just screaming at Democrats. Republicans do it too. Across the board, both sides.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's very eye-opening looking at where the money. I mean, when you have, I think the biggest pressure point or learning curve was seeing the sheer amount of just crossing over. You you're fed this narrative through everybody, like from the Republican side, from our side, Democrats are bad. They're the reason things aren't getting done. They're the reason legislation's not getting passed. We had Senate majority. The budget should have been passed. There was a choice made. There was a choice made every single time. There's still a choice being made. You have the same politicians who refuse to do what they're supposed to do. Why? Ah, political self-interest. They want to keep their seats. It's not necessarily about the people anymore. Their constituents' voices are continually being silenced and is being lost. We've seen time and time again how politicians are, again, disconnected from their constituents because they're special interest funded. Now, this is probably the best thing that I did learn. Nothing comes for free. Everything has strings attached. If someone gives you money,
Mhm.
there's always a reason.
Investors always want ROI. They always
Yeah.
want their return.
And they'll get it.
Mhm.
They'll get it. Hmm.
Yep. So, let's talk about your motivations. What, as a 25-year-old, mom, full life, full plate, what made you want to take on the venture of political consulting?
Yeah. I just, I knew how hard it was for me. And I always said if there was another one of me, I would have won. I saw and I met a lot of people doing it that I just, for instance, even just when we were doing poll working and it was election day, and there was a lady who came up to me and she had lost everyone in her family, and just speaking with her, and she was older, and crying with her and praying over her and telling her how loved and beautiful she is, and how much she matters. And knowing like I felt those connections with people. I was there on the ground. I met people who other politicians would just brush over, and they would look at them as they did not matter because they weren't a vote. And it just broke my heart. So if I can give this service to other candidates who truly just care about their constituents and want to help others now, I'm going to do it. I want people who truly align with my values, who are good quality candidates in office. I don't want to keep seeing the same special interest funded legislation pass. Meanwhile, things that would actually impact and directly help their constituents doesn't. And I don't want to watch legislation continue to be passed saying is pacify. I call it pacifying legislation because it is. You can sit there and you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig.
I haven't been able to get many young conservatives' opinion on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
We have a piece of legislation, the SAVE Act, that's sitting and has not been brought to a vote for months. Months. And we're talking about pacifying legislation.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on what's going on right now?
About it not being
Because I'm
passed.
Well, yeah, it's not even being brought to a vote, the SAVE Act.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sitting in an office collecting dust.
I think
And
that once
I'm very
again, it's,
passionate about this.
yeah, spineless politicians. I mean, you see what they did with Epstein. Spineless politicians. Spineless politicians. I am so sick of the spineless politicians who have no gall to do a damn thing. Come on. It's your job. People act like the seats that they sit in are just this is their job. Like it's our job, you know. But I'm sorry. If I go to work and I don't do my job, I get fired. These seats are not they're not owed to them. You were given the opportunity to represent your constituents. Do your damn job or get out. I think that's across the board in every single seat in every single race. If you can't get legislation passed, if you want to blame the other side, if you can't do your job, you need to be out. You don't deserve the seat you're sitting in. And I think that we need to be more cutthroat as constituents, not allowing it to happen. We have to start, like in our primary. I mean, look at it. It wasn't a good turnout. And we have Republicans, you know, we do have majority in a lot of places and the unaffiliated vote. You have to start, if we put candidates in races where they're good candidates, they're not streamlined, we have to have people show up in the primaries to vote. It cannot continue being these low turnout numbers on non presidential election years. Doesn't matter because inherently you are taking your voices away. You are watching good merit based candidates lose their ability to win because we don't have the sheer numbers of votes. When in all actuality, I think you see a lot of things change if you would stop picking the same cherry picked candidates that are always in office.
Yeah, I think that politicians across the board have forgotten the fact that they work for us. We do not
Mm-hmm.
work for them. They listen
Correct.
to what we say. We pay their bills. We sign their paychecks. Voters are the ones they answer to, not the elites, not the higher ups. No, they just like my congressman, he answers to the people of Western North Carolina. Your congressman, he answers the people of Central North Carolina. You know,
Mhm.
these people work for us, and we as voters have to remind them of that. If, like you said, if you don't do your job, bye bye, have fun at the job search.
Exactly, exactly. And you know, one good thing, so Brad Knott is my congressman, and he's very receptive of a lot of people. He has a great team under him, and like he truly cares about his constituents. So I will give hats off to him. And I know Lori Buckout's running in District 1, and she's amazing. She cares about the constituents. And I think we have some good candidates that are already in office, but I also think that we have some candidates who are already in office who kind of they put a bad taste in people's mouth, or certain candidates who are running who put a bad taste in people's mouths. And it kind of, what is it? One bad apple will spoil the whole bunch. It
Hmm.
gives a sour taste in everyone's mouth because of the choices one person is making.
Hmm.
So th- I think there's a place of discernment that you have to have there, but also,
Oh yeah.
again, if you're not doing your job, get the hell out. I mean, you saw what happened in what Senate race was it? Sam Page's. Yeah, where Sam
23 votes.
I mean, that is just wow. Amazing. Crazy, but amazing. But it shows just how cutthroat this truly is
Hmm.
and how, I mean, we still don't have a budget. It isn't Phil Berger the president pro tempore of the Senate, and we still don't have a budget. Bad apples spoiled the whole bunch.
A big thing, a big hot topic in at least Western North Carolina politics has been Hurricane Helene, and I know that that necessarily didn't affect y'all in that part of the state.
Mm.
Um, but I know that different places were fed a lot of very different stories, and you still probably almost 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years later, cannot find two people that will tell you the same story about what happened. So I'm interested as to because it was at least a week for us before we could even see what was going on in the news. I mean, I remember several days after anything happened, not knowing what was going on and seeing the pictures of Tunnel Road in Asheville for the first time, and my mind was absolutely blown. And I'm standing there with my friend and Kay, who's my co-host on the show, and we're watching this video of a drone go over the Walgreens on Tunnel Road, and we're both in awe. So I'm wondering, I'm curious, in other parts of the state, what did y'all know? Did y'all know right away what had happened? Were y'all seeing things right after they happened, or was it a few days like it was for us?
So it was on the news and it
Hmm.
was kind of instantaneous. Um, did I know the severity of the situation? No. I think that the media had pushed a very rose-colored glasses mentality version of it. It was whitewashed tombs. We knew it was bad, but I didn't know nearly how bad it was until I actually have a friend who lived there and was trapped there with her daughter at the time, and she was able to start posting and saying what was happening. And I think seeing people start saying, "We have no help." Okay, what do you mean you have no help? This is the United States of America. You have no help? Did we not learn anything from Katrina? You have no help? And then I think it was, for my take, and obviously I don't live there, and I know you do. And I think it was a very humbling experience. And to know that these are people who live in my state who are just, I mean, in a sense, it kind of seems like hindsight's 2020. It feels like people were just left there to die because it was you can't go in there. People are getting turned away. Things started coming out about it was you can't go, you can't go deliver supplies, you can't go rescue people, and then it was well because of the not to be gruesome, but it was because of the bodies. They were worried about people getting sick from the bodies and the floodwaters and the contaminants and everything leaching and but then there were people still alive. There were people still buried under debris who sat there and laid there and suffered and died. And you can say it was for the greater good, but was it really? Was it really for the greater good, or was it to protect from showing how we surely just did not once again have the resources and the streamlining of a process that should have been taken care of from a 2005 hurricane that hit New Orleans? We should have processes put in place. It was a sheer failure once again. And now you look, and it's a year and a half later, almost to the 2 year mark. And where are we at now? What is happening now? I feel like there is still like this lapse in what needs to be done. And you can't take one funding bill that, once again, the Hurricane Relief Act, I mean, they slid in the downzoning clause in there where you can no longer downzone. Well, I'm glad that something that's supposed to remedy a situation where people in the state of North Carolina lost their lives was able to be a political stunt. So glad that they did that here. Absolutely disgusted, truthfully. I really am. I can tell you right now, if I was in the position of power whenever that happened, there's a whole different way that I would have approached it. And we should have seen more politicians, more leaders of North Carolina, boots on the ground, doing things there. And we didn't. And I mean, I'm curious to hear, your experience because I know that you did. You were firsthand there. And if you feel comfortable sharing any of your thoughts too.
So, my experience, me and Kay, who does this, we volunteered at a food center. We had, we made about 600 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for rescue workers. I have a picture on my phone of a truck that came from Washington State um, with Swiftwater Rescue. Vermont was there, people from Vermont. We had people all over the country. The church, Trinity Baptist in Asheville, their sanctuary holds several hundred people, and they turned that into lodging for emergency workers because we had National Guardsmen, we had military everywhere, there were helicopters, and then there weren't. And then there was nobody. And we didn't know what was going on. Like I said, it was days before we knew what was going on. I remember going to the local grocery store and there were people shooting at the managers. There were people pulling machetes at gas stations. There were lines around grocery stores because people didn't have water. They were just wanting some water for their families and there wasn't enough. There was not enough water and the fact that we have people, I knew people that lost homes. My mom knew someone who lost her son and her mother-in-law and her father-in-law in one day. And it was a lot. And I talked to people, and I was very blessed to not lost my home. I was very blessed to, my car got damaged but I'm very blessed that they were able to fix it. I'm very blessed that I was able to evacuate. A tree fell and was about 3 feet away from falling into the house where me and my dogs were taking shelter because my husband wasn't home. And we evacuated the house to go to my grandmother's house. And the wind was so strong. I had a 6-month-old puppy. He was on a leash, thank God. The wind was so strong, it picked him up off the ground and he was suspended in the air and I had to carry him the rest of the way. And to this day, my dog has actual diagnosed PTSD from that. Like if there's wind, my dog will pee in his crate and sit in it because he's too scared to move from the wind.
Mhm.
And there was a long bit of time in which I had nightmares from the things that I saw and the things that I heard about. And it was just a lot. Like I said, I was very blessed and I thank God and I praise his name for the fact that I didn't lose anyone close to me. I didn't lose my home, but there were so many people that did, and $750 does not cut it. We have people in Buncombe County that have received millions of dollars
Mhm.
for their businesses and their homes. And then we have people that lost everything and they got $750.
Slap in the face. Slap.
I we were told that if we went and bought chainsaws and generators, we could get, money back on those. So we got that. My husband and I went to buy a chainsaw, and the guy at Lowe's said that they didn't have any. They, as soon as chainsaws and generators would go on the shelf, they were gone because people were desperate. And even people that had already had them were scared they were going to lose them. There were people that were scared they were going to get robbed. They were going to get robbed because people didn't have food. I mean, those movies, and this is might be an extreme comparison. And so if it is, I apologize, but the only thing in my brain that I can compare it to is the Left Behind movies.
Mhm.
And
Apocalyptic, yeah.
yeah, the Left Behind movies, because we had people waiting in line hours for gas. We had people that were waiting in line to buy, tampons and um body wash and just things that we take so for granted. And it felt, I think about it now and it doesn't feel like it was a thing that really happened. Like I said, I'm so blessed, but to have been in that atmosphere was
It's
a lot.
dehumanizing. Yeah. I mean,
I know people that were without water for so long that they resorted to using the bathroom in litter boxes because outside because they didn't have running water and they couldn't use the toilet. So, I mean, imagine being so desperate that you put a litter box outside and you use a litter box. I mean, because you don't have water. And I don't know. I could go on
it's,
about this for hours.
it, I think, I mean, it's hard to like, it's so, it's just so heartbreaking that it feels like it's a movie because it's like, there's no way, but they really did. They left you behind.
There
And
was
I
a
mean, it's a nasty thing. They it shows the true value of human life in the United States of America, there and in North Carolina, and of our own constituents. Because where was our governor? Where was our leadership? Where were they? Because they weren't there. No one was, and they left people behind. They left you to die. They closed the roads. They closed everyone off, pushed safety concerns, and then they pulled everyone from there. They pulled stop supplies. They left you there to die. And that's just the harsh reality of it is they chose what they chose and they kind of you got to face up to the truth because there's no way of getting around it. I mean, we see this time and time again with every natural disaster. FEMA doesn't do shit. Stop depending on it. I think we're now 2026, over 20 years later from Katrina. We are almost 2 years from Helene. Where is the new system? Where are the new orders? What are we going to do for new guidelines? Where is the new? We need a new one. FEMA is not it. It is not it. We have seen time and time again FEMA fails in every aspect. It's time to, I mean, truthfully defund FEMA and move on. Fund
Yeah.
something that actually is worth a damn.
In North Carolina, we had FEMA leaders that were telling workers, and this is out there. This is anyone can
Mm-hmm.
go find this. We had people that were over certain parts of FEMA that were telling FEMA workers to not go help people that had Trump signs or flags in front of their homes. We had that. That is a thing that is public knowledge that
Right.
cannot be disputed. Because I know
It's
that there are a lot of people that say, oh, that didn't happen. No, that absolutely happened. We
and
had
the thing.
people that were denying help to citizens because of their political beliefs. Like, what? I'm sorry. I was an EMT. When I went to help people, it didn't matter if
Mhm.
you were a Democrat, it didn't matter if you were a socialist, if you were a communist, if you were a libertarian, if you were a Republican. I was there to help you because that's what God put me on this earth to do. That's what God put those FEMA people on this earth to do, was to help people. And what did they choose? You have a Trump flag. Sorry. Better luck next time. Better luck next disaster.
There is a choice that every person makes. And I think that the political climate is so intense and high strung But I think a lot of us are, and I mean, I'll speak from experience and personal experience. I was so small minded, even just before I ran. And I look at life a lot differently now. I think no one sees the true magnitude of the crossing over again, how much everything is really intertwined. The only reason this nation is in a state of political polarization is because of the politicians who frame it that way. Do you really think, and this is asking people who are going to watch this, I really want you to ask yourself this one question. Do you really think that the same people who sit across from each other every single day, that they actually go to work and do their job? Well, even though that part's debatable. Do you really think that they are at each other's throats, screaming at each other and blaming one another? Or is their main goal to keep the voters, the constituents, so fired up that they're too busy fighting with one another to see what the hell they're actually doing? I think I think this is the time that a lot of us need to do a lot of self-reflection and see what is truly at stake with each election cycle, but not even just then in our daily lives. I, you know, I know a lot of people have asked me if I'm going to run again. That's still up in there. I might not. But what I will say is I'm not going to stop fighting for the people of North Carolina in any aspect. The one thing about me is I could give two about your political beliefs. I am a Republican, but I am also a Christian first. And a part of being a Christian first is I'm a disciple for Christ. And that doesn't mean being a disciple just people who believe the same as I do. It means showing people through action, not just hanging out with a one click. I'm a terrible conservative woman. I mean, everyone says themselves, what was it? That I was a bad Republican woman because I ran against a Republican male incumbent. Let me be naughty. I don't care about my reputation. What I do care about is the people that are hurting. And I think that time and time again, we've seen the sheer magnitude. I mean, with your story, I mean, it's humbling. Um, the United States of America and in North Carolina, people went without water and were resulting to getting to the point of killing one another for things that are just like we were just easily accessible here. And going about our daily lives while you guys were sitting there just trying not to die. So I think that that is a reality check that I needed, and I definitely think a lot of people need to hear. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to my heated ramble.
Oh,
There's a oh, sorry if I made you
no.
emotional. I tend to
Oh,
not talk about that a lot. But well, I really appreciate you coming on, Caitlin, even though I know we didn't talk a lot about your consulting firm. We kind of got sidetracked, but I think it was a great conversation. I think that a lot of people will enjoy. I say enjoy. I think a lot of people will benefit from the things that we talked about. And I don't think this is the last that we'll see of you on the show.
I don't think so either. I think that I think there's a lot of decisions I have to make. But I don't know, 28 might be a very fun year for us.
I think 2028 and 27 are going to be two of the most interesting years for North Carolina conservatives.
They
Uh,
might just be it. They might just be it. I think it's going to be a across the state thing. I
yep.
think that 28 is going to be one hell of a election cycle, and I'm looking so forward to it. But thank you again, Abigail, for having me. I really appreciate you, and thank you everybody for watching.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
until next time, y'all, stay informed, stay vigilant, stay out there.